Naz Beheshti, you are an executive wellness coach, speaker, and Forbes contributor, and you are the CEO and founder of Prananaz, a company that provides corporate wellness solution. And today we are here to talk about your debut book, Pause, Breathe, Choose. Become the CEO of your well-being. Naz, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So Naz, I mean, this book it brought me a lot of peace and tranquility. It almost felt, make me feel like you were holding one of those yoga workshops that I had to kind of find myself and relax. And so that's where your book was taking me, and I love it. But before we get there, I wonder if we could start with your past. Can you close your eyes and then imagine that you were 17-year-old and running around the hallway of your high school trying to decide what to do with your life? What was going on in your mind at that time?
Wow, I've never been asked that before. 17 years old, running through the hallways of my high school, you said?
Yes, and you can open your eyes.
Let's see. Honestly, I couldn't imagine I would be where I am today at that point. I wasn't one of those people who, thought I'm going to do this from a very young age. It was more of an exploratory kind of like exploration of what I wanted to do. My path was not very straightforward. It's a little bit messy. So.
Right.
It wasn't a direct path.
What do you study?
I studied psychology, and even when I went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. So as a freshman, I decided to take lots of different classes to, again, explore what my passion is, and then decide which were the classes that, brought me most fulfillment and passion. And it was my psychology classes. So that's why I decided to major in psychology.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then take us to the moment that you graduated until you find yourself at Steve Jobs' office.
So graduating from college, I was, looking for a job. My roommate at the time saw me working on my resume, and she had a friend who was an internal recruiter at Apple, but I didn't know that. My friend just said, let me just share your resume with my friend if you want some feedback. I said, great. I didn't think I'm going to be landing a job at Apple for Steve Jobs. Next thing I know, I'm getting called in for an interview from Apple. And I thought to myself, I didn't even apply for this job. That's so strange. But it turned out, I put the pieces of the puzzle together, and it turned out that my friend had turned in my resume through that recruiter, and Steve Jobs just happened to be looking for an executive assistant at the time. So they called me in. I was reticent to go because I was like, I don't want to be working in the South Bay. I want to be working in San Francisco, live in San Francisco. And I decided to go in just, for the fun of it and to explore my interviewing skills and, just kind of experience what it would be like to interview for the first time out of college. So I went and interviewed many interviews after another. It was about, I can't even recall, 4 or 5 hours of interviews. It was a long day of interviews, and one interview led to the next. I kept getting passed to the next round. I interviewed with all of Steve Jobs' direct reports, executive assistants. And then they invited me back to meet with Steve. And then Steve was the last interview, and it was a short interview, but it was very direct to the point, a lot of questions, and then just, great, you're hired. Got up and shook my hand, and that was that.
Wow. What year was this, and where was Apple at this time in regards to, I don't know, all these developments and success that they have?
This was pre-iPod 2000. Steve had just announced he came back as official CEO. He had just dropped the I from his interim title and became official CEO of Apple again.
Wow. Okay. So as a person who is not familiarized with Apple, and all my information comes from just headlines from the media, All I get is that Steve was a visionary, a genius, if you may say, but on the personal level, they call him an a-hole. So I mean, your book, of course, says otherwise. You call him your mentor. So there is that discrepancy here. So can you tell us more or less what it was it like for real, instead of just the headlines that I get to see from time to time?
Yeah, so, that's very subjective. I mean, I had a very different experience. Of course, there were times of high intensity, and I could see how some people could perceive him as that. But the thing is, he really demanded excellence. And when you create such a amazing, innovative company and products, you have high expectations. You're very focused, you're very driven and very ambitious, all the things Steve was. So that doesn't surprise me when he, pushes people and challenges people. He was known for that. But then in a way, a lot of the people who work for him who, didn't think he was the greatest person in terms of like personality wise and called him an a-hole, as you say, also found that they were pushed beyond their limits in a positive way and was able to do things they may have not thought that they could do otherwise, right? So he actually challenged and stretched people in a way that he helped fulfill their highest potential. So you could look at it that way as well.
Yes, I hear that as well. Okay, so you call him your mentor. How did he change you or your life or your perspective of life?
Well, he showed me up close and personally that you can be the CEO of an innovative, company and be the CEO of your well-being. He really prioritized his well-being, and because he was so focused, driven, ambitious, and all of the above, he had to be that way by taking care of himself. Like he couldn't be that way if he did not take care of himself. And so well-being and success are intricately connected. And so he showed me that well-being drives success.
Nice. Okay, so then eventually you leave. First of all, you were there how long, and then why do you leave?
Well, I was there. I started as a contractor and they asked me to come on full time, but I declined. I should have said yes, but no regrets. Then there was a hiring freeze and they got rid of all their contractors. So after it was a little over a year, I ended up leaving and going to another company.
Right. Okay. And now you are the CEO of Prananaz. How did that happen?
Well, it's a pretty long story, but the short version of it is that working in corporate for over a decade, from Apple to Yahoo, AstraZeneca, and a technology startup, it was great learning new skills and being in corporate America, but it wasn't great for long. Like it didn't sustain me. I wasn't fulfilled. And I really wanted to start my own business and follow and pursue my passion and my purpose in life, which is all about, executive coaching, helping people transform their lives and helping companies excel. And so I started leadership coaching and corporate wellness, implementing corporate wellness programs into companies, and really found that that's where I thrive and that's where my passion is. And so I decided to just stick with my own company and not go back to corporate.
Okay, so eventually you come and you write this book, Pause, Breathe, Choose. What was the motivation for you to write this book? I mean, as a executive coach, you must be busy, and this takes a lot, and it's a long book, and it's very dense. Sometimes I can see the font type of the books that I read, and some of them are 14. So this one is like 11. I think
It's
so.
small.
It's dense. It's dense.
It is dense. Very perceptive. Yes, it is. And it is very time consuming to write a book, but I had a deep motivation and inspiration behind it, which was that Steve actually appeared in a very vivid dream of mine on the night of February 14th, 2014. And in my dream, that was about 2 years after he had passed. In my dream, he had told me that I should write a book about how my first job and working for him really impacted my life and my career, which it really did. And since it was such a vivid dream and it was so meaningful, I decided to take his prophetic words, to heart, and I started writing immediately.
Well, okay. So in your book, you talk or you describe for the MAP method, MAP. Can you tell us what that is and how we can implement that in our life?
Right. So the MAP method is a holistic framework to live your best life. And MAP is the acronym for M is master mindfulness, which is all like the foundation of my practice, of my life, and of the book. So part 1 is all about mastering mindfulness. And then part 2, the A, is about applying better choices to manage stress and build resilience. And there's 7 A's that you apply, which are all about upgrading your mindset and your behavior. And then the P stands for promote yourself to CEO of your well-being, as well as the 3 P's, which are pain, prana, and purpose.
Right. Okay. So in the mindfulness, can you tell us how we discover our authentic self? I feel like we are constantly searching for ourselves, and we have all this noise in our life, and many times we really don't know who we are. We don't know if we want to take a vacation because that's our true desire, or because we have heard 1,000 advertisements about vacation, or if we want, I don't know, whatever fashion item there is, whether we really want it or it's the noise around us. And there is so much noise, and I find we don't know who we really are.
That's exactly right. There is so much noise around us all the time, from, external noise, from social media to advertisements to, work noise, chaos, to the internal noise that we have, our internal critic, the voice inside us that we try to quiet down. And meditation, or a mindfulness practice, meditation is a type of mindfulness, whatever type of mindfulness practice you have or adopt, allows you to quiet your mind and quiet that noise, external noise and internal noise. So the practice of mindfulness essentially awakens your mind and your heart from autopilot and all that noise and the distractions, and enables you to really experience life unfolding in the present moment. So then you're also able to then hear what your true desires are, because your mind and your heart are connected, right? So you don't have the distractions of external or internal noise. You're very connected and present and grounded.
Okay. Wow. And I assume that takes a lot of time and effort to discover who we really are. Or, I mean, can someone like you, can you help me discover who am I in a few sessions, or what's the process like?
It depends on every person, some people, and where you're starting from. So I always meet my clients from where they are, and some people have a mindfulness practice or want to get into it. Everyone has different levels of where they are in their life or life stage. So it depends on me being able to meet you where you are and where you want to go and get you to where you want to go.
Wow.
And as far as mindfulness or meditation, it does take consistency. Like, I can't say go meditate for a couple of days and you're going to discover your authentic self. It takes time. Like most things, you have to build and cultivate that before you start reaping the benefits.
Okay. And then in the apply section, how do we adopt a healthy lifestyle? First of all, what is a healthy lifestyle? Is it just doing exercises and eating healthy, or what?
That's part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's a holistic approach to well-being. So a healthy lifestyle is, like you said, a regular physical activity, proper nutrition, proper sleep. It also means having fulfilling relationships. It means, having a sense of purpose and fulfillment in your life, passions in your life. It has a mindfulness practice as part of it. It's really all encompassing. So it's not just like when people think healthy, typically people think exercise and diet. Like those are the two things that people automatically think. So when I was always saying I'm a executive wellness coach, people said, oh, are you a fitness instructor? Or are you a dietitian or nutritionist? I said, no, it's much more than that. So it's really how all areas of your life are connected and you're living your best life in all those areas.
Wow. One problem that I have in my mind is to realize that we are richer as a society than we have ever been. We have more income, more time available, yet we are so stressed. In fact, we can produce so much in so little time, but our days expand so much, and it feels like we are always in this wheel that is hard to get off. So how can we have a better life, better work-life balance?
So the key is to start small and find one thing you want to do. So I would say, what is one thing you want to do that you're not doing currently that you want to do? And start there, and then expand from there. So I wouldn't, as a coach, say, okay, let's turn your whole life upside down. I'm going to tell you to do all these different things and develop a whole new routine. And, that's really stressful. And typically when you start big, it's really hard to sustain that. So I always say, like, start simple and small for sustainable, lasting success. And so what is something that you would like to do that you're not doing right now?
Okay. Well, I find I like to eliminate some things that I'm doing.
Okay, so we could start there.
For example, I really hate all the time that I spend in social media. And I am being able to detach myself. I give myself the excuse that I do that because I'm doing research on the people that I'm going to interview. But then I get hooked into this and the other thing, like the social media algorithm is supposed to work. And well, that is a small struggle that I have in my life. So instead of taking more, I want to have less.
So if you weren't always on social media, what would you do with that time instead?
Well, now at this time of coronavirus, really, this I feel
It's
like
hard.
I'm in. I feel like I'm in prison. This is yeah. I feel like my only escape right now is just work because I'm by myself in my apartment. So let's yeah. But if it wasn't there, then yes, I do have more of a social life. I will be out and about meeting friends.
Right. So maybe there's something you could do even inside, like, talk to someone on the phone, a friend on the phone, or connect via FaceTime or Zoom instead of social media, because social media is a one-way interaction. You're
Right.
not connecting on on a two-way street. It's just one way. It's one-sided. So instead of, using social media, borrow some of that time, well, not borrow, take it back and call a friend. And one way I've limited my social media is I put a timer. There's settings on, I have an iPhone. I don't know what kind of phone you have, but you can put a setting. And if you don't have an actual setting through your phone to tell you how long you've been on social media, you could set an alarm. Like, right, I'm going to do this research for this, person, and look for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, however long, right, and then get off it after that time frame.
Okay, great. Okay, so going back to your book, can you give us can you tell us more about the 3 Ps?
The 3 Ps. One of the Ps stands for pain, and pain can be used as your greatest teacher for growth. And then prana is a Sanskrit word for breath or life force. And then purpose is on a macro level. The third P is purpose. On a macro level, purpose is really your impact and message and mission in the world that you want to fulfill. However, not everybody knows that, and that's on a bigger level. And if you don't know your life purpose, there's another second type of purpose, which is on a macro level, micro level, that is about your daily intention. What is your intention for the day? And
Okay.
that's a micro level purpose.
Okay, Naz. So I'm sure my listeners and viewers will get your book, but can you give them some homework right now? Can you tell them like 1, 2, or 3 things they can start doing until they get your book?
Well, when you're ever feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or you feel that you're, lost in your thoughts in the past or the future, just pause, take a pause, step back and pause and just take a deep breath, a mindful breath. And then you're able to choose, make better choices. So when we're on the hamster wheel of life of just like on autopilot, it's harder to make mindful choices because we're not mindful of them, right? So they're more mindless choices than mindful choices. So the pause, breathe, choose method not only allows you to re-engage with the future and feel better in that, re-engage with the present and feel better in that moment, but then it allows you to proceed more wisely. So that's why I call it pause, breathe, choose is mindfulness in action, because you take better action. So pause, breathe, choose is one thing that I would definitely, it's a simple tool that you could use and very easy to remember. PBC method, pause, breathe, choose. And I would also, if you're not already doing meditation or have a mindfulness practice, I would just start with 2 minutes of just sitting still and focusing on your breath, and then building up slowly from there. Those are the 2 simplest things I can share. But when you do get my book, there are over 80 proven strategies at the end of each chapter where you can implement and really create a new blueprint and, roadmap for a healthy lifestyle.
Well, okay. Well, can you tell us one more time the title of your book and where can listeners follow you and see what are you up to?
Yeah, my book is Pause, Breathe, Choose, Become the CEO of Your Well-Being. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm on all the social media outlets, but you could also find me obviously on my website. I have 2 websites. Prananaz.com is my corporate wellness site. And then nazbeheshti.com. You could find more about me and my book and my coaching, my executive coaching on nazbeheshti.com.
Now, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.